Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. On this video of Moments in Time is the story of the manhole cover we sent to space. Today, Kegs and I are going to take you through the entire story, so let's get right into it. Hit 'em, Kegs.
So, via nuclear testing, in an intriguing and somewhat bizarre piece of history, we did, well, it is said, send a manhole cover to space. Well, the concept of sending objects into space for scientific experiments has been part of space exploration for decades. This particular manhole became a symbol of the unexpected consequences and discoveries that arose from early nuclear testing in the mid-20th century. The object in question, a manhole cover, was launched into space during the United States nuclear tests in the 1950s. This event lies together in the fields of nuclear physics, space exploration, and military experimentation, showcasing both scientific ambition and the sometimes unintended outcomes of nuclear detonations. The story begins in post-World War II era, when the U.S. was conducting a series of high-profile nuclear tests under the name Operation Plum Bob and other military projects. These tests aim to study the effects of nuclear detonations on a variety of materials, structures, and systems. The most famous of these tests, and the one linked to the manhole cover, was the test known as Shot 3, which took place during the summer of 1957 at the Nevada test site. The long-forgotten chapter in the history of both nuclear testing and space exploration presents a fascinating intersection of military experimentation, quest for scientific knowledge, and the unforeseen consequences that occasionally emerge from high-stakes experiments.
So let's set the stage. We got the Cold War and nuclear testing. So in the aftermath of World War II, the world was thrust into a new era of geopolitical tension between the Soviet Union and the United States, commonly referred to as the Cold War. At the heart of this rivalry was the arms race, particularly the development of nuclear weapons. Both superpowers engaged in a series of nuclear tests, seeking to demonstrate their military strength and technological superiority. The U.S. began conducting a series of nuclear tests at the Nevada test site in the late 1940s, continuing throughout the 50s and the 60s. Now, the primary goal of these tests was to refine nuclear weapon designs and understand the effects of nuclear explosions on various materials, such as military hardware, buildings, and other infrastructure. These tests were critical for military strategists who needed to understand how nuclear weapons could be deployed in real-life world conflicts. Many tests also had civilian applications, such as understanding how nuclear explosions could be harnessed for peaceful purposes. For example, nuclear power.
At the same time, the U.S. was also exploring space. The Cold War rivalry with the Soviet Union extended to outer space, where both superpowers sought to dominate. The United States was rapidly developing its space program, and the Soviets had already launched the first satellite, Sputnik, in 1957. As tensions mounted, the U.S. began to place greater importance on technology that could be used in both warfare and space exploration. Operation Plum Bob and the test to send a manhole cover into space was one of the most infamous series of nuclear tests in U.S. history, a set of nuclear detonations carried out in 1957 at the Nevada test site. The tests, which took place from May to October of that year, were part of a series designed to investigate the effects of nuclear weapons on various targets, including both military and civilian structures, as well as materials that could be used in space exploration and military technologies. One particular test, known as Shot 3, sometimes referred to as Sedan, took place on July 6, 1957, and was a low-yield underground nuclear explosion intended to investigate the impact of nuclear blasts on structures. It was during this test that something remarkable and completely unexpected occurred. After the explosion, a manhole cover, which had been placed directly above the blast, was launched into the air with such force that it reached the upper atmosphere, and some believe it may have also left the Earth's atmosphere entirely entering space.
So the manhole cover wasn't intended to go to space, nor was it meant to be part of the scientific experiment. It was simply a piece of debris placed at the site of an underground test. However, the blast generated by the explosion was so powerful that it propelled the manhole cover with incredible force. The cover's ascent was so dramatic that it became a piece of popular lore in both nuclear and space history. Following the explosion, the manhole cover was observed to reach altitudes far beyond what had been anticipated. It was recorded that the object reached an incredible height with some estimates suggesting that it achieved speeds of over 100,000 miles per hour. This speed would have been sufficient to propel the manhole cover beyond the Earth's gravitational pull, possibly sending it on an escape trajectory into space.
The specifics of its trajectory remain somewhat uncertain, as the object was not tracked by any of the space agencies of the time. However, some experts have speculated that it may have gone into an orbit around the Earth, while others suggest that it could have escaped Earth's gravitational field entirely, becoming one of the earliest man-made objects to leave the planet's atmosphere. The concept of a manhole cover reaching space was so bizarre that it became a source of fascination for both the scientific community and the general public. Some saw it as a testament to the immense power of nuclear explosions, while others saw it as a humorous quirk of nuclear testing. The incident was widely reported in the media and became part of popular lore, often cited as an example of the unaffected effects of nuclear detonations.
While the story of the manhole cover itself may seem odd, it serves as an important symbol of the unintended consequences of nuclear testing. The Sedan test in particular was part of a broader set of nuclear detonations that helped scientists better understand the effects of nuclear explosions on various materials, structures, and the environment as a whole. In addition to its potential impact on space exploration, the nuclear tests conducted during Operation Plum Bob and other similar programs provided valuable data for military strategists and civil defense planners, and scientists working on future space missions. Although the manhole cover incident was not a planned experiment, it demonstrated the extraordinary power of nuclear explosions and their ability to affect objects in ways that had not been anticipated.
While the story of the manhole cover may seem trivial in the grand scheme of nuclear testing or space exploration, it does highlight the overlap between these two domains. The 1950s and 60s were a time of rapid technological advancement both in development of nuclear weapons and in the space race. The United States and the Soviet Union were constantly striving to outdo each other in terms of military and scientific achievements, and the launch of man-made objects into space was a key milestone. In this context, nuclear testing indirectly contributed to space exploration in several ways. The development of missile technology during the Cold War played a crucial role in the space race. The same rockets that were initially designed for nuclear weapon delivery were later adapted for launching satellites and human space missions. While the manhole cover's brief journey into space was not a scientific achievement, it occurred during a time when the U.S. was testing limits of technological possibilities, both for weapons and for the space program.
And the intense focus on scientific data from nuclear tests also helped pave the way for early understanding of the space environment, including the behavior of materials under extreme conditions, which would later prove useful for spacecraft design. Moreover, the unexpected event of a manhole cover being ejected into space illustrated the immense forces at play during a nuclear explosion, which would later contribute to the understanding of high-energy physics and material science. So the legacy of the manhole cover and nuclear testing is simple. While the manhole cover's journey into space may seem like an odd anecdote, it remains an enduring part of both nuclear testing and space exploration history. Today, the event serves as a reminder of the extreme power generated by nuclear explosions and the unintended consequences of such tests.
Additionally, the nuclear tests conducted during the 1950s and 60s were part of a larger pattern of experimentation that has had long-lasting environmental and political consequences. The fallout from nuclear testing in both terms of radioactive contamination and international tension eventually led to the creation of the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty in 1963, which sought to limit nuclear testing and reduce environmental and geopolitical risk associated with such weaponry. As for the manhole cover itself, it remains one of the more bizarre artifacts of Cold War era science, often brought up in discussions about the unusual results of nuclear detonations. Whether it ended up in Earth's orbit or was ejected entirely from the planet, it represents the unexpected intersections of military, scientific, and space exploration during the particularly tumultuous period in history.
So guys, in conclusion, the story of the manhole cover sent to space via nuclear testing, while seemingly eccentric, speaks to those incredible forces generated by nuclear explosions and unexpected intersections between military experimentation, scientific research, and space exploration. The Sedan test in 1957 and the subsequent ejection of the manhole cover into space remain an unforgettable episode in both the history of nuclear weapons and the space race.
In a time when humanity was just beginning to reach for the stars, the incident served as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of powerful scientific experiments. While the manhole cover may not have had any direct impact on space exploration, its journey into space symbolizes the dramatic consequences of early nuclear testing and the broader ambitions of the era. Its story also serves as a fascinating chapter in the history of both space and military experimentation, and an object unexpectedly launched to space by the sheer force of a nuclear explosion. I'm going to give you guys a little fun fact portion of this real quick. So they had a high-speed camera placed on this manhole cover during the explosion. It had come off in a subsequent test and had been then poured in with concrete and everything else reinforced. They were completely certain that this was going to stay on this time. However, when you cap exploding gases harder and you vaporize concrete, which releases gas, and then superheat it, which expands exponentially, all they did was make a bigger pipe bomb. So, the guesstimated speed, and I use the term guesstimated because you can't even really estimate it. The camera they were using, it literally showed up in one frame. I think it was like taking like 1,000 frames a second, if I remember correctly. It was like the best camera they had back in 1957. So by that, it would have to be doing a minimum of 125,000 miles an hour, or what is known as 5 times. I'm going to say that one more time. 5 times the escape velocity of Earth's gravitational pull. So the fastest thing we know of was for a man-made object is NASA's Parker Solar Probe, which reached a speed of 394,736 miles per hour. And there is a possibility that we launched a manhole cover at that speed into the fucking universe.
In 1957.
In 1957.
But guys, this has been Moments in Time. Don't forget, check out Xanatos' music. He's excellent. He'll be in the description. Don't forget, we're on Rumble, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, and of course Discord.
And if you guys happen to see E.T. drive by, ask them if they saw our manhole cover.
Until next one.
Bye.
Bye.